I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots, and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's back.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another extra episode of the Now You Made It Awkward podcast. So still doing a Men's Mental Health Awareness Month here. Just like I had the episode with Victor, I do have another friend here from church and men's group, basically, coming in to hang out, tell his story, and talk about anything and everything that regarding his own mental health journey as it goes. But before we get into that, of course, I am Shoki. You can follow me at all the Shoki-related links down below, whether that's Shoki Reviews, Shoki Reviews 2, or the It Doesn't Have to Make Sense live stream channel. But while you're here, or wherever it is you're listening, hit that subscribe or follow, and then, of course, rate us on any of the audio platforms, because that way the algorithm knows to do good things. And like, hey, you come look at this thing. And hit the like button. I mean, that helps. It seems like it doesn't help, but I spend enough time on YouTube to know nobody's hitting the like button. I watch a video that has 180,000 views and 3,000 likes.
That's crazy.
That is it's supposed to be at least a 10-to-1 ratio.
Right.
And it's not. It's so dumb. Either way, also, guys, I want to make sure that you know that we do the full uncut version of all the podcasts on the Shoki Reviews Patreon. So if you want to sign up for that, come support the channel. But also, things I don't really promote that much is we do have, if you sign up for the larger levels, we do have 3 to 4 times a month video calls over on the Patreon where everybody can just come shoot the shit. We watch videos, we react to stuff, whatever. Or on the first Wednesday of every month, we do trivia night on the Patreon. And that's open to all levels, even on the freebies. The freebies can come and hang out. But convert to the $5 level, please. All right. And on top of that, guys, if you want to contact the show, which I will be actually reading some contact we got from a longtime listener, you can do so over at nowyoumade.it.awkwardmail@gmail.com, especially if you hear these men's mental health episodes and you want to talk about anything that's going on in your life and just vent or whatever. Send us in a big, long email. We'll read it, and we'll read it out loud, or maybe even just get back to you if you don't want to make it public, but something like that. Just have somebody to talk to. But also, you can follow us over on the Facebook at Now You Made It Awkward Podcast and on Instagram at NYMIA_pod, or just search Now You Made It Awkward, and it'll come up. And then go over there and follow that. Where you can also send in voice messages or regular text messages, and we'll read those or play those on the show as well. We don't have any of those today because it's a normal special episode, or not a normal episode. It's a special episode, an extra, as it were. Because I have with me today, in the second seat, a Charlie. Say hi to the people, Charlie.
How y'all doing, guys?
Doing good. Engage the camera. Look at it right here.
Right here.
Look at the camera. You're still looking at me. Look at the camera. There you go. That's Charlie. So we didn't get to actually see Charlie the last time he was on because we didn't video that podcast, but he was here. You probably recognize his voice a little bit. He was here for the Star Wars Day celebration at Bartlett's. So what's really annoying is I switched to the dual cam, and now I'm off center. I'm just going to fix the camera when we're done. I'm getting annoyed by it. So either way, Charlie, thanks for coming and hanging out.
Of course.
Even
always.
though you were just here last night.
No worries. No problem.
You don't have to keep staring at the camera. I was just meant when you talk to the camera, talk to the camera.
Got you.
Yeah, so it's fine if you talk to me, but if you want to engage the audience, you look at the camera.
Got you.
You know how it goes.
Yeah, I sure do.
Yes, and you don't really have anything to promote, but you do have a small social media presence.
I do.
You have a pretty massive following.
I have
you have a pretty massive following on your little thing, but it's nothing you create. It's just you share, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's fine. You have a tick. You have a tick of the talks.
Yep,
fine.
I do.
It's fine. I don't do that, but it's fine. I could, but I feel like it would take over like everything.
Yeah, I have 12,000 followers.
Only.
Just
only 12,000.
only 12,000.
I mean, I have 10,500 on my main channel. We've got 129 here, and I've got 900 some odd on the other channel. So, I mean, I'm almost there. Amongst all my stuff, I almost have 12,000 some odd followers. Okay, so before we get to you and your story, I want to read an update from a longtime listener, Jay. So Jay has had a very rough run of it for the last few years. Like, he got injured. Both of his parents died within like 3 months. Had to get a full-time job. Had struggled to get a full-time job. And then got hurt again. Vehicle broke down. Had to find a new vehicle. Got back to work barely on his feet again. That vehicle broke down. He's had a real bad run of it. So he finally wrote in with an update. So let's see here. All right. Sorry about not writing into you guys. Been busy. So my week so far, this is from last week.
Okay.
So my week so far, went to work on Monday and got injured. Gets injured again. It was a nail through the wrist. Trying to be like Jesus, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
I'm fine. Didn't hit any bones or tendons. Okay, but there's like veins. That could be important. All right. I was showing one of the other workers that he missed a board with the nail, and he brushed me just hard enough to fire the nail gun. Okay. I don't know how. He works at like an industrial yard.
Oh, okay. I got
Like, for the most part, his main job is catching 2x4s that come off the mill.
Ah, okay. I got you.
I don't know how you get a job catching 2x4s flying off a mill, but
Hey, so be it.
I guess a person must do it. But I know.
well-
All right, so he spent 2 days in the hospital and had surgery. So no bones or tendons, but he did have to have surgery to fix that. Holy crap! Also, I'm pretty sure this is not a small nail. I think this is like a framing nail.
Ah, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, because I think they also, I could be wrong, but I think they build pallets and other things there too.
Right.
All right. Doc says that I should be back to work in 2 to 3 days. Says, but wait. Okay, that's a typo. Okay. But not to use my left arm for 2 weeks. I don't know about you, but I need both my hands in my job.
Yeah, I need both of mine too.
Yeah. I mean, you could maybe do your job one hand. It'd be difficult, but I think you could.
It'd be difficult.
It'd be slow.
It'd be slow, but I could do it.
Yeah, I think you could do it. And your other job, you don't need 2 hands for that, really. You just need to be able to point at people. Be like you. All right. Workman's Comp is trying to get me an appointment with my hand and wrist specialist in St. Louis. I just got to find out how to get there. Okay. Enough about me. Question for the pod. What is the worst thing you've been hospitalized for? Mine was when my appendix ruptured. Okay, so I mean that's pretty bad. You ever been hospitalized?
Yes.
Okay.
Sir.
So what do you got?
I've been under my car 2 different times. I've had 3 back surgeries. All down here. My lower back's completely destroyed.
Well, it's a good thing you have no lumbar support right now.
Yeah, pretty much.
You can grab that pillow over there.
No, yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
That's okay. But yeah, I got one over the first time at HEB. And
At HEB, the old one, I'm guessing over there.
Yeah,
The Mexican HEB.
The Mexican HEB. She hit me. She hit me in my legs, and I rolled her car and did a rolling pin, and landed on my back.
No shit.
Yep. She came over there and asked, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not okay. Yeah, you just ran over me.
You just hit me with your car. No, I'm not okay. You're not a stunt man.
That was the first time, and I ended up hospitalized, and I couldn't work for like 6 months.
When was this?
Oh God, 10 years ago. Maybe.
Okay.
And then the other 2 times were like a year or so later.
You got hit by a car again.
I got hit by a car 2 more times after that.
At Target and Walmart.
No, I was at HEB all 3 times.
What the HEB park?
I don't know, dude.
Okay, I knew there was a reason I didn't go to that HEB, and it's probably because I didn't want to get run over.
That's probably a good reason why.
Because I mean, I've nearly got run over at the good HEB.
Yeah. Which one?
The
one right down here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one I've nearly gotten run over, but people don't drive nearly as crazy in that parking lot.
No, yeah, the one over there is crazy because it's so big and so wide. And there's a whole lot of room for you.
It's very girthy.
To act crazy.
I guess so. Yeah.
I mean.
And you were hospitalized every time.
I was hospitalized every time. The first time I had to learn how to walk again.
Yeah.
I was almost paralyzed the first time.
Jesus. What? At least she hit you with a car, I'm guessing, like a.
She moved the Cadillac CS.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But that was my only the actual injury that I've ever had. I've never had anything else other than that.
Oh, so you just decided to go for the boss. Like, you're just like, I've never done it, never got really injured. I'm just going to go for getting hit by a car first.
But, and it's funny, though, because after all of that, she ended up paying for my hospital bills and everything.
That's what she should.
She paid for my time off, everything.
Damn.
I had to do shit. for like 6 months, she paid for everything.
No lawsuits or nothing?
No,
She
no
just
lawsuits,
offered?
nothing.
Okay. I mean,
well, there was gonna be one if she didn't pay for my medical bills.
Yeah.
There would have been one.
dude, I'm just glad. Well, at least the first lady stopped. What about the other times?
The second lady, she stopped too.
Okay.
The third one, no, they just kept going. They didn't even give a shit.
That's the thing I expected fully, honestly. But it would have been really weird if it was the same lady.
Well, no, the one lady was a car, and the second lady was a full blown truck.
Jeez.
She hit me on the front side of me.
So which one of you was not paying attention?
It was them.
Okay. So you're just not being a dick and walking out in front of cars that are coming.
No, I was pushing buggies.
Oh, you were working.
I was working.
Oh, I thought you were just shopping.
Oh no, I was pushing buggies. The first few times I was pushing buggies.
No shit.
The third time I was just walking in the parking lot.
So my first job was Albertsons in New Caney.
I remember those days.
Yeah, and I was a cart getter and a bagger. Or a courtesy clerk, as they named it.
That's what they called it.
Because grocery sacker was not somehow a thing.
No, it wasn't. It was
an offensive name. Courtesy clerk. I'm here for your courtesy. I'm here to fucking bag your groceries and push it out to the car, and maybe you'll give me a tip.
Yeah, maybe if you're lucky.
Maybe. I did twice. I got a tip. Twice. One was from a lady because she had two completely overflowing carts, and she couldn't do anything because I think she was pregnant. And then, like, I think it was like her daughter was with her or somebody younger pushing the other cart. And I loaded it all and packed it like perfect in their fucking like Explorer or whatever the fuck. And I think she gave me like a $10 tip for doing it all. Now, mind you, I'm like 16 and like $10 is a lot, you know?
So funny story about that HGV. I was out there during Christmas time 2 years ago, and I was in a parking lot working that day, and there was a car accident in that parking lot, and I couldn't go anywhere. I was stopped because the cars were stopped, and I couldn't go anywhere with the buggies. So I'm standing there waiting, and this guy pulls up in this nice ass fucking F-150 loaded leather interior, and he says, "Hey, come here, son." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, can you take tips?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I can." He'd be like, "Well, here, I want to give you this," and so I'm like, "Okay, well, thank you." And I didn't look at it until I got in the store.
Uh-oh.
And so it was all $100 bills, 5 of them, brand new ones.
What?
Yep. And so I'm speechless.
You must have been cute.
I'm speechless, Kevin. I'm speechless. Shit.
You must have been cute.
And I never saw him again.
I assume this was high school days.
No, it was after that.
Okay, so collegey.
It was collegey days.
Yeah, because I remember how I remember you from school. Because guys, we went to school together. He was about 1 or 2 grades ahead of me, but I remember you. It was funny that like I don't even know how long we knew each other before we discovered. It's like, wait a minute, we went to school together. This just keeps happening to me.
Yeah.
And then actually, a friend of mine, Heidi.
Yep, I do.
From school. So, but that's just funny. Small world here in Montgomery County.
Yeah, no doubt.
Whatever. But what was I thinking? So you got hit by a car 3 times in the same parking lot. Still insane, by the way. And what was the other things you said? You said something after the 3 car accidents.
It was the tip I got.
Well, no, I meant injury wise.
I don't have any injuries after that.
Oh, you were just talking about it was your lower back is destroyed. Okay,
yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was my lower back.
Yeah. Now, you know what's crazy? Because one, I did that same job and definitely concerned about that. Also, question real quick.
Okay.
What was your record for carts?
My record?
Do you remember the number?
The last time I did it was 75.
Damn. Okay.
Up the hill.
Yeah. Mine was, I think the best by myself was 64. And that was also because for some reason they thought it was a great idea to build the parking lot as a bowl. So all the carts came to the drain in the middle.
Right.
So I'd line them all up and then have to push them. I'm sure that was great for my back and everything, you know. The fact that I didn't get a hernia was impressive, but I was young and still strong. But I think with somebody steering and helping, I think we did like 75 or 76.
But this was at Walmart on that big ass hill at the Walmart here in Conroe.
Oh,
The one on the North.
yeah,
Loop.
the North Loop. Damn,
North Loop. That was over there.
Jesus.
When I worked at that Walmart over there.
But that's like a huge parking lot.
Yeah, and so we were, me and my buddy Robbie, we were on the other side by the garden center.
Okay.
And I said, "Line them up, son. Let's go." And
Damn.
he was steering. I was in the back of it by myself.
Yeah, just pushing.
It was me and him pushing.
I'm sure that was good for your back. After getting hit by cars.
It actually didn't hurt me, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It actually felt kind of good.
That's funny.
It did feel good, actually.
Yeah.
Because my doctor told me, to
Well, it's good to strengthen your legs, yeah.
strengthen my legs.
Except that it's also compressing your lower back. It's trying to do the same thing. Well, how about, I know we're on a sidetrack here, but like, I know for me that you would literally like have it like pushed up and like lifting the last like 4 carts to get any kind of push on it. But yeah, that's just funny because basically you try to, if you had them on the far end, you would use the downhill to build up space, at least for us. But God, I couldn't imagine pushing carts in that fucking parking lot, man.
It was a fucking nightmare, man.
Talk about an insane parking lot, too.
Big ass fucking parking lot, man.
Yeah, but also people are insane in that parking lot.
Oh,
like,
hell yeah.
like they'll try to do anything to cut through.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, sorry, I was getting text messages.
No, you're good.
I don't know if you can hear that or not.
No.
The buzzing?
No, I can't.
Okay, so it only comes across on my mic. It's fine.
Yeah.
So I got to turn on airplane mode. Boop, there it goes. All right. For me, obviously, 2 years ago, this time of year, I was hospitalized for a bowel obstruction, which I'm still fighting those off to this. I'm fighting one off right now, actually.
Are you?
Yeah, currently. I ate way too much last night, and I was already backed up. So I think unless I have some major surgery to remove, like, the stupid section of my bowels, or at least... So one thing that I had an intussusception when I was a child, and now I finally know what that means. It's basically the intestine goes around itself, like a foreskin. So that happened to me when I was an infant.
Okay.
So they had to cut me literally stem to stern. So I have a scar that starts up here and goes all the way down to fix that, right?
Yeah.
When they put me back together, and something we only discovered after, or when I had that, is that my intestines, like right here, are like spider webbed to the inside of my internal cavity,
right?
My whatever you want to call it, the wall of my thorax, basically. So part of the problem is like that section doesn't move the same way it should,
right.
So things kind of can get stopped there. If I eat a whole bunch of garbage I'm not supposed to eat,
right,
and then get dehydrated, that's literally what happened to me. I ate a whole bunch of dry foods, like basically like snacks, chips, and then like jerky on the same day.
Okay.
And was massively dehydrated, and it literally just seized up.
I can understand that.
And so they had to vacuum out my stomach. As soon as they did, it cleared.
Gotcha.
So basically the contents in my stomach were sitting on top of it. And as soon as they emptied me out, it had room to get by.
Right.
So that's kind of what I've got going on right now. Is I'm definitely backed up. And then ate a ton of food last night at Jordan's birthday party.
Right.
Which, happy belated birthday to Jordan, even though we were there from last night. I fucking made smash burgers and everything was good, and then forgot my onions until after the fact. I should not have had that last burger. That's what got me. So either way, that's the only time I've been hospitalized as an adult. Obviously, I was hospitalized as an infant when that happened.
Right.
And then I had a surgery to remove tubes from my ears. Well, I should have had surgery to put tubes in my ears, but that was too small for that to even remember. And that was at age 7 or 8, because we were already living out here.
Okay.
Because I grew up in Houston.
Right.
And I wasn't hospitalized for that, but we went to the doctor, and basically after the procedure, went home. Had cotton balls taped to my head, to literally make sure I didn't bleed out everywhere. And then the doctor even taped cotton balls to my teddy bear's ears.
Okay.
To, because I was a little kid. Whatever.
Yeah.
So either way, no, that's the most hospitalization I've done, but my family's going for the record, I think, over the last couple of years to my mom and my dad.
Right.
Yeah, I think between the two of them last year, I think was probably like 7 times. That's crazy.
It is.
It's like every other month, one of them was in the hospital. And then they're still going back and forth on stuff, but mostly ER stuff. But it's not to really joke about it, but that is kind of what's happening. Hold on, let me see what this comment is. What channel is it? Oh, yeah, about that. Okay, sorry. It's like, what is this comment on? Because the problem is when you open YouTube Studio, it's like it takes a minute to show you exactly what the comment from the video is.
Right.
And just like, okay, whatever. But also having 4 YouTube channels is like, okay, where is this comment?
Where is this comment coming from?
Yeah, because it doesn't show you until you really click on it.
Right. Yeah.
So that would be very useful to know that information.
for sure.
Okay, so with that under our belt, let's get to what we're here to talk about. Your story. So you've already had very significant physical trauma in your life that you literally had to basically learn how to walk again.
Yep, I did.
So let's just start there. And you said, what was that? Probably 18, 19, 20?
I was in my late 20s.
Late 20s.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was like 27, 28 when
Damn,
was
okay.
going on.
And you're only a little bit older than me.
I'll be 47 next month.
Okay, so you're a bit older than me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, 5 years.
Yeah,
Really?
5
Okay.
years.
That's crazy.
I know.
All right. So talk about just going directly off of that. So the struggle of basically learning how to walk again. Like, how did you therapy or?
Yeah, there was a lot of physical therapy involved in all of that. Like I said, I spent 6 months in the actual hospital.
Yeah.
And when I got out of there, they put me in physical therapy. Standing up. Walking with a walker, walking with a cane. That sort of physical therapy. They would get me out of bed and walk me 2 or 3 miles, and then we would stop. If I was getting too much pain, they would stop.
Yeah.
And I would go sit back down again, and they would come back in the next day, and we did that for about 2 or 3 months into that, and about a year afterwards, I was completely healed and doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Walking. I'm completely healed, man.
Yeah.
I have no issues with it at all. I can lift trash bags, with ease, and I can do everything I used to do when I was a kid.
Oh, I've seen you move. I understand. Like you walk like with a purpose everywhere you go.
I do.
So in that time, especially when you were just in the hospital, not even like basically just, I'm assuming bedridden, were you dealing with any like depression or?
I really didn't. I didn't have a lot of depression in those times.
Mhm.
I didn't. The only thing I could think about that I really had was a lot of anxiety and panic and episodes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I got over all of that after I got out of hospital. All that stuff went away.
Once you got to really work at it.
Once I got to really work at it, start taking medication and stuff.
And also not feeling like a prisoner.
Yeah, pretty much.
Was that part of it too?
Yeah, that was part of it.
Because I know, I mean, I wasn't in the hospital for 6 months. I was there for 2.5 days, and I was losing my mind because I was like, I'm technically good to go. Can I just get out of here? Like, it'd be great. Like, because they wanted to keep me in there to make sure I was good. The problem is, we went on the weekend.
Ah, okay.
So I was stuck there till Monday.
Gotcha.
So we went in Saturday night.
Okay.
Like, literally in the middle of the night, like
Right.
1 a.m.
Yeah.
It was prom weekend.
Oh, God.
So I literally had just missed the prom rush of all the drunks and dipshit kids
Yeah.
in the ER. So they got me in there, like literally like the fastest I've ever seen the ER function, let alone for me. And by the time we got through there and, they wanted to keep me overnight and everything else like that, and I had a tube shoved down my nose, down to my stomach, which was the worst thing I've ever had to endure, like realistically. Like all the horrible things that have happened to me injury-wise, that was the worst pain I've ever been in.
Yeah.
Was having that tube shoved in and ripped out. It was so fucking bad. because even when they sprayed like some type of lidocaine first, pulling it out was like, oh my God, it's like it hurts so damn bad.
I can only see.
Yeah, never want to do that again ever.
No.
Which is one reason why I try to self-medicate so I never have to endure that again.
Right.
But the anxiety and everything, because I had to take off work for like 2 days. Not to mention, I didn't know. I was stuck in literally the same clothes the entire time. And Jessica was worried about me. My mom came up to visit me, and this was in the middle of us feuding about some shit. So, like, it was the anxiety that I felt on just that was, I couldn't imagine if I was literally like bedridden, not even sure if I was going to walk again.
You know, and it's funny that you said that because my parents were still alive whenever all that was going on, and so both of them were coming there to see me, and I'm the kind of person I don't want somebody to see me like that
In your worst,
in my worst state of mind.
Yeah,
because you don't know how to act when you're stuck like that. You're a different person when you're in the hospital, and you're dealing with all of that, all that pressure and all that pain. You're like, get the fuck out of here,
Yeah.
I don't want you to see me like this, and so
yeah, I was kind of the same way too.
and and so that was one of my bigger struggles with that. So yeah, that was one of the things that I really had to focus on. I did have a couple. I did have one other time. I was at work and I was dehydrated and I had to go to St. Luke's.
Yeah, you overexerted.
I overexerted and had to go down there get IV put in me, get bliss put back in me. But those were the only 2 times that I've really been in the hospital.
Yeah,
as far as that goes.
Well, at least having like 3 or 4 bags pumped into you is not that bad.
No, it was actually one big IV bag.
We had a huge one.
Yeah, it was about that big.
Oh shit, yeah,
it was a big ass bag.
Yeah, because we had a guy fall out at work. Shit, probably over 10 years ago. One of our older dudes. I think he's like 60 something now, but he would have been in his early 50s then. And it was that like really really stupid hot summer we had around 2012. Give or take. Remember that one? And he thought he was keeping up, but he was just drinking straight water all day.
Oh God.
And by the time, and he made it the entire day, like all day long, made it all day long. Comes back to the building, and they noticed he was like gray, like he's like gray pale, and like his shirt was like washed white.
That's crazy.
Like from all the salt he had shedded.
Yeah.
And they took him to the hospital because they're like, "Are you okay?" And he was like kind of just foggy.
Yeah.
And he took he took like 2 bags on the way to the hospital, and then I think he took like another 4 or 5 there.
Oh wow!
Like even though, because he was just drinking, like he had like the big jugs, like big gallon jugs, and think he drank like 5 gallons of just straight water with nothing else in it.
Oh wow!
Basically, just washed his system clean, and then he sweated it all out, and like he didn't even know, and so he stayed in the hospital, I think, for a day to make sure he was good and didn't have any like kidney failure or anything else like that.
Right.
Because he had to have been pissing fucking maple syrup by then.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then he came back like 2 days later. But it was like he was a reason why a lot of new legislation was built. Like a lot of that situation, not him specifically, is like what changed a lot of legislation when it came to our job. So like I've had really bad days out there, especially after I had shingles, because like once you have shingles, like it's a lot harder to take the heat.
Right.
And I had it young. That's the part that sucked. I was like 26.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and 26-year-olds are not supposed to get shingles.
No.
No, that's old people disease.
Yeah, it is.
So that's how wrecked my immune system was. And it was that same summer. It was that same summer, so I couldn't. And then luckily I missed the hottest week because I had to stay home on medication.
Got you.
Because it's like, hey, you probably shouldn't be out in the heat with this medication or with shingles. Because like the sweat alone will react and cause it to spread faster.
Right.
If you, that's one mistake a lot of people have when they don't catch it quick enough. I caught it literally when it cropped up.
Got you.
Because I hurt that fast. But so other than that, you have had some other traumatic experiences in your life.
As far as mental health goes,
yeah,
yes, I have actually.
You've told a few of us at men's group and whatnot.
I have. So I'll start with this. So I lost my mom in 2007.
Okay.
Of cancer to her lower lungs.
Okay.
And she passed away. She passed away before I could even get to see her or say goodbye or any
So
of
real
that.
quick.
Real quick. It was quick and painless because they had her on morphine.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they had her on morphine, a lot of it. And so she had enough strength in her body to squeeze my hand, and that was all she could really do. So I got there in enough time for that. So I did that, and I said my goodbyes, and I got my tears out and all of that.
Mhm.
And so after all that, all my family and friends started showing up, and I told my family and my friends, I'm like, whenever you go in there, say your goodbyes, get your shit, get your tears and your sadness out, and get out
And move on. Yeah.
and move on, because we're here for her. We're here to think about her. This is her time. She wouldn't want any of us to be doing all that shit. She would want us to live our lives the way we're supposed to be living them.
Yeah.
And after and surprisingly, I wasn't very I wasn't as bad. I wasn't sad, and I didn't have all of that all that sadness with my mom.
Okay.
The only thing that I can say, that I will say this, and I tell people I tell people this all the time, because I tried killing myself 29 times.
29.
Yes.
You might have the record over Megan.
I was successful one time.
Okay.
I was in my apartment, and I was in my apartment downstairs, and my neighbor upstairs was there.
Okay.
And I was a noisemaker. I always like my TV's loud, and so people knew that I was okay.
Okay.
Well, that particular day, I had everything turned on, and I remember having a good day, like we're having right now, having the best day in the world, and it hit me, dude. Hit me like a ton of bricks. That depression hit me as fast as it could, and it turned on me. And I walked in my bathroom cabinet, and I took out 2 bottles of pills, and I downed them all.
Jeez.
And so I woke up. I don't remember much of that at all. My neighbor.
I would expect not.
My neighbor worked for Sherwin Williams. He was a paint salesman.
Yeah.
At the one by Luby's, matter of fact.
Yeah. I was gonna say it had to have been that sure.
So he came downstairs and picked me up and took me to the hospital, and they put me in the hospital, and they pumped my stomach 7 times.
Just try to get it all.
Get it all out of there. And that was the only.
Oh, so technically you have had the nose thing. You just weren't awake for it.
Right.
I was.
So after that, I haven't had one yet. I haven't had any.
So that was the final one.
That was the final one.
So let me ask you then, if that was all pills, what were some of the other attempts? Other than getting hit by a car and HEB?
A lot of it was, not knives to the wrists, knives to the ankles,
cutting
and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Those were a majority of them.
Okay.
So like I said, I have a lot of friends, that are in those days and having those hard times. Like, well, one, you got to reach out.
Mm-hmm.
You got to, for the love of God, call me. If you need to talk to me, call me.
Yeah.
Reach out to me somehow or some kind of way. Reach out to your family members. Pick up the phone. Call somebody and say something. Don't just sit there and ignore it, because you're not only hurting yourself, but you're hurting your family and your friends and the people that care about you the most.
Yeah.
That's what you got to look at when you're dealing with mental health, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And mental health is not talked about the way it should be, huh?
Quit bonking the desk.
Oh, sorry.
You're shaking everything.
But it's mental health is not talked about as much as it should be today.
Oh no.
And it should be.
It is, but not, especially not for men.
Not for men. Men's is not.
No.
At all. Like, it's ignored completely.
Exactly.
And being, matter of fact, on my TikTok account that I have, That's one of my biggest things that I talk about on there. I put that out there, in my bio. You know, you're loved, you're important, you matter. It's okay not to be okay. Stuff like that. Those are the things that I put out there for people so they can understand what it's like,
Yeah.
to have somebody that cares and loves them just as much as I do.
Yeah.
And that's one of my biggest things that I do as far as that goes.
And just on that note, because just to hammer this in, because we've been covering this every time we do it. So like alarming stats here. This is just men. So suicide is one of the leading causes of death for men, especially between the ages of 18 and 44, which is basically like right where you were, right?
Yep.
And then in the U.S., 79% of all suicides are men. 79%. That's the vast majority of suicides. Men are less likely to seek therapy, share openly, or ask for support. And men in depression often shows up as anger, substance use, or burnout, and tends to go unrecognized because it's just a dude having a beer after work, or God knows what else, or playing loud videos or whatever. And also the fact that we tend to address symptoms but not the cause, because we never bother to ask, hey, what's going on?
Right.
And so this is thing like just because you haven't seen this, but I'm covering it every time. So it said society's taught boys to become men who don't cry, don't ask for help, provide but never need anything. How many guys you say, no, I'm good, I don't need nothing, it's fine. I mean, even myself. But and then stay strong, and even if it's killing them.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
literally like put up the front, because heaven forbid you look weak in any way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
Then the idea of hustle culture says sleep when you're dead. Red pill say, or influencers say don't trust women, dominate them. Then you got toxic jackasses say don't be vulnerable. It's a sign of weakness and stuff like that.
Right.
And it leads to kind of, as the next slide says, a loneliness epidemic, because like a lot of times you end up isolated under those thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Not just because you're depressed, but also like, no, I can do it on my own, it's fine. And you ultimately end up pushing people away who would probably help you.
Exactly.
Whether you think about doing it or not doesn't matter. It's just that you do it at all.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And even like you were one of the people who was there in one of our worst times recently. Like right after I basically met you at men's group, Jessica got in her car accident, and then she needed to go back to work after slight recovery time, but couldn't drive.
Right.
And you were one of two people or three people technically, who volunteered to help get her to work. I think you did it twice.
Yep.
But and then Zach did it at least once, and never again, because good Lord, he scared the shit out of her. But like you were basically a stranger who had only met like a handful of times, but you were super willing to help. But the fact that I even reached out at all at like basically my lowest time in modern version of me, that was like the anxiety and depression I was having around that accident. We just lost a car that had just really been paid off, finally trying to get ahead on things. Now we're gonna get buried in buying a new car. Jessica's injured. We live on a third floor. She's got to basically demean herself to get up or down the stairs.
Right.
Literally crawling up the stairs to get home, because she got in trouble for walking on her cast, as well she should have.
Yes, you should.
But you guys were there. I managed to reach out to effectively total strangers, and then you guys were there for me and her. So like that was like a huge thing, because we had nobody. Family members. Family wasn't even able to come and help, or didn't care to come and help. But you guys, who barely fucking knew us from Adam,
exactly,
were there, in our time of need. But at least I bothered to reach out, where in the past I would have just basically sacrificed, be like, okay, well, I got to take off half a morning of work or something, to get her to work, or figured something else out, or bullied someone else. Because one thing I learned from my mother that's very unhealthy is not talking about the problems that are going on because you don't want to look bad in front of whatever judgy person you think is judging you.
Exactly.
So, like, she comes from a family of a lot of people who are very nosy and in each other's business.
Gotcha.
You know, like family should be. Duh.
Right.
But there comes a time, or came a time, I should say, that basically anytime somebody had an issue, somebody else held it over them for some reason,
Okay.
one way or another.
Right.
So whenever my mom was going in the hospital, she's like, "Don't tell anybody," you know,
Yeah.
and be like, "Don't tell this aunt, don't put anything on Facebook, blah 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 blah," and be like, "But you need help, so why would we not reach out for help? Don't do it, you know, whatever." And then when we did, that's why me and my mom were feuding.
Okay.
It was because we tried to get them help behind her back.
Okay.
To a degree.
Yeah.
To
I
a
got
degree.
you. I understand, yeah.
And I mean, you've heard a lot of that argument,
Yeah,
actually,
I do.
but that's one reason why, like, it's hard for me to trust and reach out for people, because I basically have been shown that, like,
Right.
when you are in your darkest time, don't let anybody look.
Right.
You know, kind of not in the same way where you're like, I don't want anybody to see me while I'm here in the hospital. It's fine if they know I'm in the hospital, but I just don't want people to stand here and stare at me in this hospital bed, you know?
Right.
That's a little bit different. That's just, it's not the same thing. You know what I mean?
It's different in the sense of, you know, my personal experience.
Yeah.
But in a lot of things, man, a lot of times, you know, whenever we get into that state of mind,
Mhm.
where we don't want to talk about it, we don't want to reach out, we don't want people knowing what we're going through, and
Yeah.
that's when we get the worst.
Yeah.
And you have to look at it from a different standpoint. The simple fact is, there's somebody out there, the whether you like them or not, they're gonna be there for you.
Yeah.
in your moment that you need them. And you may not like them, you may hate them with everything you got in you, buddy.
Mhm.
But they're always gonna be that. There's gonna be that one person that's there for you at all times.
Which would be nice.
And that's me.
Yeah.
That's how I am. I was raised by my mother like to be that way.
Okay.
My mom taught me like that when I was a young boy. Always be there when you least expect it, because you never know what the other person is going through at that time.
Yeah.
They may be going through something horrific like you went through, and they just need somebody to talk to it at that time.
Mhm.
Fine. Let me know. Always reach out to me. I don't care if it's 3 o'clock in the freaking morning. Call me. Speak up, because I have seen it. I've been there. I've done it.
Yeah.
I've done everything they could have been imagined.
Well, it's that I'd rather get the phone call of you asking for help than the phone call of you killed yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's
That's
like
exactly what I'm saying.
you annoying me over, quote unquote, annoying me at 3 o'clock in the morning is better than, or what was it? I'd rather have a annoying phone call than go to a funeral.
Right.
That's the other simple way to put it. All those basic ways to do it. But so at least you were close enough with a neighbor that recognized that something was wrong, came to check on you, and then saved your life.
Exactly.
Dude, I don't know any of my neighbors. I don't know. I know our neighbor directly across the hall because she works at the same place Jessica does.
Okay.
So we know her by proxy.
Yeah.
But like, we're not friendly with any neighbors. It's like, if one of us, if there was a pattern that changed for us, nobody would come looking.
Right.
That lives here, I should
Yeah.
say. Obviously, if I didn't show up for work, somebody would come a knocking eventually.
Of course.
But and I know if, like, Sean, you know, you're not too familiar with the show, but Sean, one of the former co-hosts and one of my internet friends, like, I mean that because we met on the internet, we're Facebook friends. We met in person last year, but like, he's the closest thing I have to an actual best friend right now.
Okay.
Because we talk all the time.
I think I met him.
You have not.
What
He lives like 7 hours from here.
what was the guy's name that came to the group that was going through all the issue with his dad and all that? Remember him? He came to our men's group one day, and was talking to us.
There's just been so many guys who've come through. I can't remember.
Well, he was a younger guy, and he was going through a lot with his he came to Copperhead with us that day. Remember? He came to Copperhead and met us that day.
I'm trying to remember, dude. There's been so many dudes who came and went, and obviously the men's group itself is like almost nobody now. It'll come back to me. It'll come back to me eventually. I gotta let the Rolodex spin for a while. But either way, with Sean, I know that we talk daily. And when we don't hear from each other for like the first few hours of the day, we'll like, hey man, you good? What's going on? Like, I didn't hear from him like last Monday. Yeah, not 2 days ago, but previous week. Okay. I didn't hear from him all morning. And so I sent him a message. I was like, hey, haven't heard from you all day, so I assume that you're either really busy or your boss did something really stupid and you've had no time to talk. And he literally replies like another voice message, like exactly what I said. The stupid thing his boss literally laid out to him as soon as he got to work. Like, he had no time to message me, because usually he'll send a message first thing in the morning, like when he's out having his morning cigarette or on his way to work or whatever.
Right.
I'll get like he gives me his pack and sack morning updates.
Okay.
So when he goes to whatever random encounter he has at the store on his way to work, like he'll send me an update of whatever random shit he just ran into.
Right.
So if he and I didn't hear from each other for like a day, we'd know something was wrong.
Right.
And phone calls would start happening. It was like, wouldn't just be Facebook messages. Phone calls are going to happen.
Of course.
Because like it's weird when we call it, whenever we actually text or call directly. It's a little awkward because we do everything else via Facebook Messenger.
Right.
So, it must be serious or like an urgent need otherwise. So,
right.
And like if I disappeared for like a day or two, he would start blowing up other people. Like, he'd be hitting up Jeff, like, hey, where's Shoki? Hey, hit up one of the other guys that we all know together and be like, hey, what's going on? I haven't heard from Kevin in a couple days. Like, what's going on? That kind of stuff. But he lives 7 hours away.
Yeah.
So it's not like he can roll up here and check on me,
Right.
So, what's funny is like you and Megan should talk, because you both have attempted to kill yourselves a lot. Like, I went up there and hung out with her like one Saturday when I was feeling crappy after work, and just happened to roll up and nobody was there. And like, it was just me and her talking for like 2 hours. And like, I'd never seen, like, her arms are just completely scarred. Like, she went to town on herself, like with whatever knives or whatever. And she said her thighs are the same way. Like, she was a cutter 100%. And she also kind of had a success story, as it were. She managed one time to actually basically get there, and then was also saved. So it'd be interesting if you two had talked about that kind of stuff.
We definitely should.
Yeah. So shout out to Megan. I need to get her back on the show. So that was your mom's death back in 2007, you said?
Mm-hmm.
And then you've had other traumatic deaths.
I had 2 more, yes.
Okay.
I had 3 more. I had my brother at 51.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's one thing I never talk about.
Wait, when he was 51,
He was 51.
Yeah, it's like, you're not there yet.
He was 51, and he was a big drinker, and he had a colostomy bag, if you know what that is, and
I'm aware.
He pulled it out and died.
No shit.
Yeah, he so that was in 2013, and I wasn't there for any of that. I never talked to him, never cared nothing about him. Didn't like him, so I never gave a shit about him.
But still family.
Well, but see, the thing of it is, the interesting part about that was my nephew was real close to me at the time of that going on.
Okay.
I had 2 nephews of his kids, and so I was reaching out to them every day.
Yeah.
How are you doing? Are you doing okay with this? How are you doing? You got my phone number, you got my Facebook. Somehow get a hold of me if you need to. After that, it was my dad.
So hold on, wait. I got to do some math here. So your brother was 51. How old were you then? In your 30s? So you said 2013.
Yep.
Okay. So he had almost 20 years on you?
Almost 20 years.
Damn, you're like me.
Yeah.
I'm a whole generation behind my siblings.
Yeah.
Like my oldest brother is only 5 years younger than my mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's the way that works. I like telling people that and then watch them try to figure out the math. And it's like, wait, what? Because I grew up with my nieces and nephews.
Okay.
Like they treated me like a cousin, not like an uncle,
Uh-huh.
because we were only a few years off from each other. So yeah, that's why I had to do the math. I was like, wait a minute, you weren't. It's like because my brain is going, you're 47, he's 51. No, he said it was 2013. I was like, hold on. I was like, wait a minute.
So anyway, after that, it went to my dad in 2018.
Okay.
But he had gotten sick before all that, and so his sixth wife.
Yeah, you said 6, and my brain went, yeah.
And so her mom had the same issues that he had. Yes.
Okay.
And so she went to the hospital and came out, and she ended up passing away. After she,
With whatever sickness that was.
yes, but she got my dad to go in there. She talked my dad into going down to the VA.
Okay.
And so she took they took my dad down to the VA in Houston.
The big one, yeah.
Yeah, but
Because 2018 we didn't have the one up here.
yeah, we did.
Did we?
Yes.
In 18?
Yes, but
Okay.
but it wasn't very big. It was just it
Oh, it was the old one.
it was
Yeah.
the old
okay,
by the
that's
ho-
right.
it
That's
was
right.
by
The one by
Con-
the hospital. That's right.
by Conner Regional.
Yeah.
So
I forgot about that.
So he went to that one, and they found fluid on his lungs,
Okay.
and they were going to drain it out.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, if they're going to do that, I want to go down to the
Take me
big
to the
one.
proper
Take him
hospital.
to the
Yeah.
proper one. So they took him down there, and
You don't want to go to Conner Regional.
no, hell no. So
It's
they
better now, but not back then.
So they took him down there, and they opened him up,
Mm.
and they did another bypass on him, because that was his.
Heart bypass?
Yeah. He had 5 of them,
Jeebus.
and
You only have 4 valves.
well no, see, but the thing about Dad was his dad didn't have any of that stuff.
Okay.
He was. They before all that they went in there, and they went in on both sides of his heart and found a 90% blockage on one side and a 75% on this one.
Excellent.
And put stents in him.
Oh.
Okay, and sent him home with nitroglycerin for the pain.
Okay then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after all of that,
Yeah.
he was having more heart attacks. He had like 7
Yeah.
heart
No
attacks.
shit.
He was having he had 7 heart attacks in 2 years. And so
Oh, my mom beat that record.
well, but the kicker
Yeah.
part about that was because after he went in for his the one right before the one he died from,
Okay.
they went in there and they pulled his aortic valve out of him.
Yeah.
Which is about this right here.
Yeah.
And it flows out like this, and there's like 8 veins, and he only had 2 veins, and one was broken. And so there's two flat, like there's like doors.
I got
So-
you. Yeah.
So all that was clogged with blood. All was clogged up.
Good Lord.
So they put an aortic valve out of him and put a pig in him.
Yay.
Okay, well they found an infection in that one.
Yep.
And pulled it back out of him, and put a mechanical valve, and he was in surgery for 16 and a half hours, Kevin.
Yep.
And they put a mechanical valve back in him, and put him in the room, and because of that, his lungs and his kidneys started failing.
Yeah.
So they put him on dialysis.
Yeah.
And then he never came out of that.
Yeah, that's super hard to get back from, because you
Yep.
already have to recover from the surgery, and then your other organs are already somewhat failing from the lack of blood flow and
Exactly.
possible infection from
all of that.
From all that. Yeah.
So he
Being open on the table that long, that's a
yeah,
hell of a thing.
it's a tough pill to swallow.
Well, I mean, I kind of want heart surgery to take a while. I don't want them to really rush through it.
Well, no, I mean, and I'm glad they took their time with him.
Yeah.
I'm glad they did all that, but I just whenever the calls came in,
Uh-huh.
neither one of us got the phone call about someone warned me. We both missed our phone calls
Oh, jeez.
from the hospital that day.
And this is when they said, like, this was the, hey, your dad's not doing great.
No, this is the day that he died.
Oh, yeah, when he actually did.
When he
die.
actually
Okay.
this is when he actually had went.
Okay.
And so they called her first because she was first on the list.
Who is she?
My stepmom.
Gotcha.
So she.
Oh, number 6. Got it.
Number 6. So They called her first. She couldn't get a hold of her, and they called me next, and Miss Mill together.
Next of kin and everything.
And so I called her. I woke up and called her, and said the hospital called. What the hell's going on? And she told me.
Oh, because you wouldn't have had any idea, yeah.
You're right. So I'm like, what the hell's going on? What? Tell me what's going on. And he's gone.
And this was 2018.
18, because he had just had his birthday.
Oh wow.
He had his birthday. He had his birthday on the 16th.
Yeah.
He had his birthday. It was December 16th was his birthday, and he died 2 years later.
Also on the 18th.
Yes, and so I called her and I said, and she told me, and I'm like, well, call down there and see if I can go down there because I want to go down there.
And this was the VA.
Right.
Got it.
Down by the baseball field.
Yep, I'm just keeping up with the story.
Yeah, so I drove down there from here.
That's a long ass drive.
Yeah, it's two like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So I called him like, call down there and see if I can go down there because I want to see his body before they cremate him.
Yeah.
And so I drove down there, and when I got down there, the people that were in the hospital that took care of him were all waiting on me.
Yeah.
All the nurses, the doctors were all waiting on me.
That's nice and respectful of them.
Yes. So I talked to all of them, and they're like, we're sorry for your loss, blah, blah, we're sorry we couldn't do more for him. I'm like, it's okay.
I mean, you can only, it's like
you can
when everything goes wrong, you can only do so much.
Exactly. So I was like, well, so give me his stuff and let me go.
Yeah.
So they gave me his stuff, and I went down. I went down the stairs and to meet the guy with the morgue.
Okay.
Because they had a morgue, where he was, and so I went down to the morgue, and there was a real nice old lady there. She was a vet lady, and she was like, I'm here to see my dad's remains before they cremate him. She said, well, you can go sit in this room. This room is probably about as big as this. And he said, well, I have his things. We can lock the room up, and while you go down there and do your stuff, and you can come back and get it when you leave. So I went down there, said my goodbyes, and left and got his stuff and came back to Conroe, and then they cremated him, and they gave my stepmom the urn.
Okay.
And so I told her, give me half of his ashes so I can have them in my house. That's why I went with you guys and spread that day.
Oh, so you only spread half of him.
Right. She has the other half at her house in a urn, in an American flag urn.
So do you think it was his legs, or was it like down the middle?
I don't know.
Sorry, I'm just making the joke because like you only spread half of him. It was like, which half?
So the interesting part of out of all of that was it became an obstacle for me. I was actually worse with my dad than I was with my mom.
Okay.
Like as far as mental health went.
Okay.
I was having panic attacks. I was having panic attacks left and right.
Yeah.
I actually had one.
And this is right after he died?
No, this was
Okay.
This is like 2 or 3 days later, and so this is right before the funeral was going to happen.
Okay.
I had one day before the funeral, and I woke up at 4 a.m, and my blood pressure was 205 over 180.
Good Lord.
Yes.
You're trying to have a heart attack.
Pretty much. So that was my worst one I had ever had, and so I was coherent enough to call 911.
So let me ask you this: were you still on any type of meds other for dealing with anything at this point?
No,
because it had been. We said so. This is 5 years later, or since your
my brother.
Yeah.
Yes, 5
so about
years later.
5. So, well, you're on like a weird 5-year cycle almost.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit weird.
Yeah, it is.
5 or 6 years. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So anyway, so I had that I had that one, and I was coherent enough to call 911 from my cell phone, and I called 911. The ambulance came out there and picked me up.
Yeah.
And my neighbor was living on the street from me, and they did the little finger thing, bobber, and that's when they got my blood pressure was so high.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like, well, you're having a panic attack.
You're having a panic attack.
Do you want to go to the hospital? I'm like, yes, let's go.
Yeah.
So I called my neighbor. I'm like, hey, I'm going to the hospital, blah, blah. I'll be back home in a couple hours. And they got me there, and they got me in the room, and I was completely fine. I completely calmed down.
Yeah.
The hospital ride to the room.
Well, because also it was happening in your sleep, which means
Yes.
you're probably dreaming something crazy.
Exactly.
On top of that, yeah.
Exactly. So.
Because dreaming is how we deal with memories.
Exactly. So I got up next day and went to the funeral and did my speech at the funeral.
Oh, so that was the night before the
Yes.
funeral. Okay.
Yeah, so I went to the funeral the next day, like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
And I got up there and did my speech and was fine after that. And so I had the ashes in my house and all of his pictures and stuff from the funeral, and I started going crazy, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
I was having panic attacks left and right, dude. I was having them almost every day.
Yeah.
And so I went to see my doctor that I've been seeing all my life.
Yeah.
I went to see her, and she was like, "I'm gonna put you on this medication to help you with this." And so I called my stepmom, and I'm like, "Hey, take the stuff away from me to your house for a couple of months, and let me."
Your dad and his stuff.
Yes,
Got
I mean, take this to your house with you.
Give me relief from this.
Give me relief from this for a couple of months, and let me process all of this, and then I'll come back and get it from you. So I took 3 months without the stuff, and I got used to it not being there,
Mm-hmm.
and I was fine after that. And I haven't had any issues since. And
So you needed that time to kind of grieve and process because it was kind of because
Right.
like you said, with your mom was really fast. Your brother was like it was nonchalant, but he probably was dealing with the issues for a while. But you were just unaware; he was just out.
Right.
Probably like you had already known that your dad had been having heart attacks, and this was almost a last ditch effort, basically situation that you didn't even know was going on at the time.
No.
So to you, it was like another quick sudden. My parents are gone.
Yeah, exactly. And so after the night that I brought the ashes with me to the men's group.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna do it that night.
Yeah, you told me this before. You weren't planning on actually doing it that night.
I was gonna do it by myself, and I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to do this by myself. And like you said, I was glad that y'all were there that night to do that with me, because had I gone by myself and done that by myself, it probably would have been different.
Yeah.
Had I not
You needed a support system.
had I not had that support system that night, I probably would have been different.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have had the understanding that I had that, and I tell people all the time about that situation because they don't understand how much that night meant to me. Okay, and so
for just to set it up real quick, so we had our men's group at Copperhead that night,
we did,
and you asked us to attend because there's a veterans park that very recently opened up.
Yes.
Totally to the public.
Yes.
Right here in town, and you wanted to go spread his ashes on the waterfront of that veterans thing.
Yes, I did.
So, so we all went over there after men's group, and well, first of all, we all had to figure out where to park because apparently half of the people didn't understand how parking lots work.
No,
yeah. So, but either way, yeah, we were there for you for that. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
After that night, I went back over there again, and so after that, I was talking to a friend of mine. She rents trucks in Magnolia, and her brother did this for her dad, and so I contacted the city of Conroe, and I'm like, hey, who's in charge of that park down there? And they're like, well, the Veterans Commission, the Veterans Coalition Commission is in charge of it. And well, can I get in touch with them somehow? Like, yeah, here's the phone number. So I contacted them, and I'm like, hey, this is so and so. I put my dad's ashes in y'all's park. I want to put his name in the park. How can I go about doing that?
Because they have plaques of all the veterans of the area.
Well, this particular thing is a board, and that board is probably about as long as this room, dude.
Really?
Yes, and it's huge, and it's like 3 miles long, and it's got like 3,000 names on it. And so you know when you walk down the park, how you had the big ones?
Yeah.
Well, further down past all that is the board he's on.
Okay.
And so I contacted them, and they were like, "Well, bro, bring us a picture of his military uniform and a story about him."
Yeah.
I said, "All right, no problem."
Something they can feature.
So they can feature all that. So I went down there, and I'm like, here's this picture of the uniform. Dude, I sat there for 2 hours, Kevin.
Yeah.
Talking to these people. We went all the way back to my grandparents, dude.
Yeah.
And you know, how there were stories, and my mom's stories, and my dad's stories, and all about my brother. And sorry, I'm used to
I know it's a nervous tick, but still.
So anyway, after me talking to them for 2.5 hours, that picture of that night. Yeah. I showed them that picture of that night of us together, and they wanted a copy of it. She wanted a copy of it for her records. I'm like, all right, cool, you can have this one.
Oh, great! Now we're all on file.
We're all on file down there.
They're like these guys came down here and did an unauthorized ashes spreading.
Actually, you
we're
know
all
what?
in trouble now.
Actually, you know what?
Yeah.
No, it was
No, I'm
different.
just making the joke.
It was they were actually happy that we did it
Yeah,
because I was the only one that's ever done that in that park. I was
Yeah.
the only person.
first one at least.
No, I was the only one. Nobody's ever done that in the
No, I'm
park.
saying you're the first because hopefully someone else might.
Well, they said they don't allow that down there.
Oh, so you did break the law.
I did break the law, but they were actually happy that I did that because they wanted to know more about it.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, that was cool, man. You the only one that's ever done that. And
It would be nice if they could allow it legally, and like have like a spot,
yeah,
like a little bridge that goes out to the water instead of like you attempting to throw the ashes from the shoreline,
from the shoreline.
without falling in, because that was a little steep right where we went down there.
I know.
I was like, don't fall in, don't fall in, don't fall in.
Don't fall in. Don't fall in. Yeah.
And unfortunately, there was a bit of a breeze that night. Some of us were a little bit more blessed than the water.
Then the water was.
Yeah, I think Greg and James got a face full of your dad.
Yeah, I think I might have got a little bit of it to myself.
Yeah,
But you know,
I was on the other side, so I got missed. But like some other people definitely got your dad on them.
But you know, and that's the best thing in himself because he was a good man. But you know, besides the fact, you know, the moral of the story is, man, is you never know how much of an impact that kind of story can have on somebody else.
Correct.
Because those people that were there that day when I was telling them the story were their facial expressions showed more happiness and gratefulness that I did what I did
Mhm.
than it would have been if it would have been something, you know, that wasn't.
Yeah.
And that's what made me do what I did. I wanted to do it for a reason. And
To break the law.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Because my dad was a veteran.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
It
why
wasn't just for no reason.
it was no reason. There was a reason behind what I
Yeah.
did.
What did he serve?
He was in Air Force.
Air Force.
In Vietnam in '63 and '64.
Nice.
Yes. But he, you know, whenever he got back, he was in that crowd that they would spit on and all of that.
Yeah.
And so that was hard for him.
And you know what? That was the thing that we sort of touched on. Because you know Jeff is a veteran.
Oh, is he?
But he didn't see combat, but he was in Afghanistan.
Okay.
So he definitely was near enough to enough atrocities, let alone some shellings occasionally.
Right.
But the kind of stuff like after World War II, we had this lovely image of war and our heroes coming back from saving the planet. By the time we got around to Vietnam and Korea,
Yeah.
very different.
Very
Especially Vietnam was like protested right and left. You know,
Mhm.
the guys, even though they went over there and, well, that was already a very sketchy war to begin with.
It was.
But like bad things happened on both sides, and then they did not come home to the image of being heroes. They weren't really parades. They weren't celebrated,
No.
let alone some of the stuff they endured. Those guys, especially like that was the beginning of like chemical warfare,
Mhm.
both our side and theirs.
Yep.
Agent Orange and all kinds of crazy shit.
Oh yeah.
The yellow cake kind of stuff. Wait, no, that was Iraq. Never mind.
That was all right.
But they didn't know how to deal with it. Like compared to like, I mean, World War II. Don't get me wrong; the greatest generation. Those guys, some of those guys like are still to this day. Some of the few that are still alive from World War II are like still like hard as hell, like good men and everything else like that. So many people, you know, I'm speaking pretty broadly here, that came back from like Vietnam and those things just never got right.
No, they didn't.
Like it was just and they never had. That might be why like some of them went really unnoticed for some of their issues, because they were treated like not like heroes.
Exactly.
But there seems a very shameful war.
It was.
Even though it wasn't even our fault. We were there like for other people,
Exactly.
right? It wasn't just about us.
Yeah, no, it wasn't about us.
But and that's something like I think because PTSD. Let's see, World War II was shell shock, and then by the time they got around to Korea and Vietnam, they had already renamed that to something else. I forgot the other extra letters or words they added to
I
that
can't
shit.
think of it.
Because George Carlin has a whole bit on it.
He does.
Me, in the future, find that bit and insert it here for how they keep adding words to describe the exact same thing to the point that they got to post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right.
You know, when it went from shell shock, 2 syllables, and it gets you the point.
Yeah.
You know, a combat fatigue.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
That's what it was.
That's what it was called. Combat fatigue.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. It was in there. It was in there. Still can't remember the guy you were talking about, but from men's group. But I remembered combat fatigue. Also, still trying to balance my camera because there's like just enough tension on that cord to keep pulling it out of whack. So back to you, basically finding solace because you were still even in that time where you wanted to spread your dad's ashes. I could tell you were still dealing with his death enough that it was. The letting go of the literal letting go of your dad was still a bit of a struggle up to that point.
I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this with empathy.
Okay.
If you know what that means.
I know what empathy is.
So by doing that, I am a better person now.
Okay.
I'm a better person now by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have been had I kept
Had you just held on to it?
If I held on to it,
Yeah.
it probably would have gotten worse than it was at that time.
Yeah.
Okay. And simple terminology would say that whenever you do something like that, your mind plays tricks on you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You start thinking about, well, what if that would have been me, and what if I was in his shoes and did all these things? How would it affect me if I was in that time period? And it would have been different for me because I'm a different person. But you know,
a little bit.
you know, and I wanted to go overseas and serve my country, but I couldn't because I'm disabled.
Mhm.
I couldn't go. But you know,
So I was gonna make an HEB joke again.
well, my great grandfather, great grandmother, all of them were Navy personnel. So I've got 4 great grandparents that were all in the World Wars.
Wow.
World War One, and then after that they were in 2 Vietnam and they were in all of those.
Just moving through the family.
Moving through the family.
The family of soldiers.
Yes.
Nice.
And so all the way up until my mom's oldest brother, and then I don't know if he was in there or not. I don't remember him ever saying anything about it. But he was 86 when he died.
Oh wow.
He died either beginning of this year or right at the end of last year. I can't remember. But he was a minister in Missouri.
I think you kind of talked about
I think I might have talked about him before.
I remember you mentioning something about your uncle. I just don't remember.
I had 2 uncles.
I think you meant him, but
Yeah, well, he died first, and then my other uncle just died like last month.
Okay, you did mention that one for sure. Like I don't see you that often, like because between men's group shifted around, plus you gained an extra job, so you're not always available.
Right.
But yeah, I do remember you mentioning the last uncle dying, but I think you at some point mentioned that you're.
I might have.
It's.
I
I've
might,
known you almost 2 years now. I think.
Give or take. I might have.
Yeah.
But you know, so I think, and so, you know, after all of that trauma, I went to my daughter, and after she passed, I really didn't know what the hell to do then.
Yeah, so
that was the worst trauma I ever did.
Yeah,
and I will tell you why. Because I was working at Whataburger whenever that happened.
So wait, when was that?
21.
Oh, that's right, COVID times.
COVID times.
That's right. Because you've told the story of your daughter dying. I just couldn't remember the year.
It was 21, and so.
Wait a minute, are we still on the 5-year cycle?
No, we're out of that.
2018 to 23. Okay,
we're on 3 years now.
It's getting worse.
It's getting worse.
Sorry, not to make a joke of it. It's getting worse.
It's getting worse.
Look, the unfortunate truth is 2021 definitely accelerated the death cycle in our country.
It definitely did.
Okay, sorry to joke about your
No,
trauma.
no, it's okay. But, you know, so after that happening, I took that better than I did any of the other ones. Don't ask me how in the hell I did that. Couldn't tell you. Because I was at work whenever that happened at Whataburger, and when I got home,
And how old was she?
20.
Okay.
20 years old.
Couldn't remember.
Yeah, she was.
I know she wasn't young.
Yeah, no, she was old enough. She was just out of high school, but she whenever they called me, I was at work, and so I got the phone call at home, and I just that was all she wrote about. That I didn't have any kind of contact with anybody. I didn't call the hospital or none of that shit. And so I had them go ahead and cremate her for me. And
But it would be weird if you cremated her. Yes.
No, but see, well, you know,
I know what you mean, but the
was,
way you phrased it.
I had them cremate her and then send me the stuff.
Yeah.
And so I took that down to where my mom is now.
Okay.
And put her with she's with my mom and my great grandparents in the same spot.
Okay.
And so that was all the trauma that I had as far as death goes.
So let me ask you this, because we never discussed it. Obviously, your daughter would have had a mother.
Yes, she did.
Yeah. So. I don't know if that was a divorce.
We divorced.
Okay.
We divorced. We divorced after she was born.
Okay.
And so we still have contact actually.
So were you married to her when you lost your other family members then?
No, I was with my first wife then. I had two wives.
Oh, okay.
I've been married twice.
Well, some of us have only had one, Charlie. Jeez, sure.
But no, my first one didn't last but about 3 months.
Oh, okay.
This one lasted. This last one lasted 17 years.
Oh, that's a good run.
Yeah, it was a good run.
Yeah.
But we divorced 1 year after she was born.
So wait, hold on. You guys were together for 17 years and then got divorced after your child was born, and then spent the rest of that time apart, obviously. And then she died at 20, give or take.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, it is interesting to think
so
about.
So what, you basically had like right out of school marriages?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. It's crazy to think about, isn't it?
Dude, the last 25 years has been nuts. Like, I graduated in 2001, and I can't even remember all of the shit that happened between then and now, but I know the last 5 years have been completely insane. If I had gone through a quarter of the shit you've gone through since 2007, I mean, like, I've had my shit, but not like that. I mean, and you know what? I mentioned it here before because, like, you have a different perspective because of the things you've gone through. Obviously, you're another person, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But you have lost people that you were close to. You've lost direct family members. I've not. I've never had someone that meant anything to me die. Period. Like, I know people who've died, but they weren't close to me. They weren't family. I've had family members die. I've had many uncles, aunts die. My niece was the closest, but we didn't have a relationship.
Right.
Because she was extremely special needs. She was born without a brainstem.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
She wasn't supposed to make it 8 months, and she made it 18 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then she died. I mean, like I said, we weren't close. It mattered mostly because it destroyed my sister and my brother-in-law and her sister.
Right.
But I didn't suffer anything of that other than I lost somebody.
Yeah.
You, on the other hand, have just been like, I mean, technically, I would consider you significantly more normal than myself, because, like, it's weird to have not had anybody close to me die, but I deal with the depression and trauma that comes from people leaving.
Right.
Like, I've like, all the friends I've lost, all the relationships that have ended, all of that were people who chose to leave me.
Right.
So they're still out in the world.
Yeah.
These people I used to love, people who were my everything, are still out there. And I could run into them at any given point and then just go in a nice depression spiral.
Right.
Because, you know, I have abandonment issues.
Right.
I wonder why. you know?
Right. Yeah.
It's like if I was slightly more normal and people who were close to me passed away at reasonable ages for myself, maybe I'd be slightly more balanced out when it came to loss. But no, because I feel like I'm going to end up with a catastrophic like level of death, like all at once. Like, I hate to joke about it, but my parents are really bad off. You've met my parents.
Mm-hmm.
they're both really bad off, even since you saw them,
Yeah.
which was like a year ago. And not quite, but either way. And they're probably going to go at the same time, or very, very close.
Right.
Because my dad's not going to survive without my mom. If she passes and he has no way to contact anybody, odds are he will die probably within a day or two if he can't get a hold of anybody.
Right.
Or he'll die trying to get a hold of somebody.
Yeah.
Because he'll probably try to walk down to my aunt's house or something and try to get a hold of her because he can't use the phone. There is no main phone in the house anymore. It's my mom's cell phone. He's got zero clue on how to use it.
Right.
So if he needs help, I don't know how he gets help. So they're probably going to go at the same time, and then we're going to have to deal with whatever mess follows that. And then my oldest brother and sister, or my oldest two brothers, I should say, my only two brothers, I don't know why I'm saying it that way, they're having all kinds of problems with their family, people I'm significantly closer to.
Right.
Stuff like that. I feel like I'm going to go catch up all at once to like what normal people probably deal with. And I don't know how I'm going to deal with it because I've never dealt with death properly other than animals, being very sad and depressed when you had to put a dog down or whatever.
Of course.
That's not the same
No.
as a person that you love passing away. But that is my only reference, my frame of reference for death.
Yeah.
So like hearing your story, and of course other people, but here in this podcast, and like I can have empathy for the obvious, but I don't know what that feels like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
And that's it. And I feel like I've missed out on a weirdly fundamental aspect of growing up.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know where I'm going to be when that happens, because I already deal with depression, suicidal thoughts, stuff like that, death spirals, things like that.
Of course.
Not as much as I used to, because I've got people like you in my life now.
Right.
If when Jessica had that accident, literally, and I talked about it the other episode, we already had so much going on. There was just a dog pile of bullshit all at once.
Right.
And then she calls me saying this guy's swerving on the freeway. She's going to try to avoid him and call the cops. And then literally a minute later calls me back and crying that she's been in the accident. And then she hangs up without giving me any useful information. And I'm like, fuck, I don't even know where she's at. And then I finally get her on the phone after 3 minutes because she had to call the ambulance and whatnot.
Of course.
And I think she had dropped her phone. So it was down around her feet, and her feet were trapped at that point.
Yeah.
The foot that got broke was stuck up under the dashboard.
Right.
And the airbag had gone off, so that, all that mess. So once she finally got off the phone and I could get a hold of her and figure out where the fuck she was, I was already on the road. But prior to that, I literally had a mental breakdown in our bedroom. That's where I was. I was putting away laundry or something.
Right.
And I punched the wall. I had restraint because I didn't want to have to replace any drywall or break my fist for that matter. But that was the closest I've come to just completely giving up on everything. Just in that moment, I'd be like, oh, I can just die now because I don't know how to deal with this.
Right.
You have literally basically taken yourself to the point of death. At that point, I'm just I might as well die because I don't want to deal with this shit. I'm and literally I can punch the wall. I screamed and I yelled. Thank God no neighbors were around because it probably would have come running, I guess, because of how loud I screamed. And then I was just don't look at the knife drawer. Don't look at, there's a little voice in the back of my head is don't go for the knife drawer. Because I'm just thinking, I don't want to deal with this shit. And also, I don't know what state Jessica's in. I don't know how injured she is. I don't know anything. And I'm just okay, I can just go right now and I don't have to deal with any of it. Fuck it. I don't want to deal with this. I'm done. Just in that moment.
Of course. And, and that's the thing about that, Kevin. Yes, I can know because I like I said, I've been there, man.
Yeah.
Most
of us.
I don't want to deal with this bullshit no more. I'm tired of it. It's hell on wheels.
Because it was literally the fifth thing in 2 days.
Yes.
Just going catastrophically wrong.
It tears you up, man.
Yeah.
It tears you up inside, and you're like, what the fuck am I gonna do now? You know what's
And-
happening here?
And it was like kind of like not this one, but basically like I had already been not dealing with the things, like, you know, and it was literally like, okay, this one thing I only had a hair's width to just deal with the first thing that went wrong.
Right.
Already on top of that, then the thing, it's just like, how many more things were piled on top of that last straw?
Right.
You know what I mean? And that was it. That was just like snap. It was like, that was one of the only times I've ever felt a proper mental snap.
Of course.
But then I realized, okay, she is alive. She's okay enough to be on the phone with me. I need to figure out where the fuck she is.
And what's happening?
Yeah. So I actually called the sheriff's office.
Okay.
I'd be like, hey, my wife was just in an accident. I know she was on 45 North. I don't know where the accident happened, and I can't get a hold of her. Can you tell me where the accident has been reported so that I can get to the scene at least?
Yeah.
So at least I had the, like at that point, I had the clearance of mind of, okay, I've got to find her. I've got to figure out what's going on. Other part of my brain going, okay, what do we do about the car? Okay, she's probably going to go to the hospital. What do we do there? Okay, how many people do I need to call and get involved in this? You know, 17 different functions, like, but the main function is find Jessica
And get
and
her,
deal with the thing.
deal with the main thing in this
Yeah.
picture, and that was her.
Yeah. And it was just like, we got to deal with this one thing. It's like all the other bullshit, whatever. This, I got to go make sure my wife is alive.
Yes.
And like, I think that there's, because I've talked about it here, is like, I haven't killed myself because something won't let me.
Right.
I don't know what that thing is. I don't know the thing that I'm supposed to be here for still. But I've had suicidal thoughts since junior high, probably. I've never taken any actual action, but there was the first time it really hit me. Like, I wanted to go get my dad's gun
Got you.
and just knock it out, which would have sucked because it's a 22. It probably wouldn't have even worked. It was a 22 pistol. Probably wouldn't have worked.
No, it probably wouldn't have.
Well, actually, I can attest to that because I had a friend who tried before. It wasn't a revolver like my dad's, but it was a 22, just normal pistol.
Uh-huh.
Like not even a rifle round, it was just a pistol round. And unfortunately, it deflected. He tried to go through the mouth,
Okay.
and it deflected off his teeth, fucked up one of his eyes,
Oh, wow.
and nicked his brain on the way out. But he didn't die. But completely changed his perspective.
Yes.
No pun intended, but like he got with God and everything else like that. And I was going to ask is because you were already in another church and stuff like that before you even joined our men's group.
I was.
And then was there anything religious that helped with any of that trauma as you were going through it?
Yes, actually there was, because, excuse me, in all of that, after all of that was said and done, excuse me, I did a lot of soul searching, and I did a lot of praying, for complete healing, restoration, all of that to be taken away from me, and to be a different person. Okay. And so after all of that praying and healing it, he completely changed me, Kevin. I mean, to the T, brother. He woke me up one day and said, everything that you went through, I put my son Jesus on the cross for everything that went through. I put my son there for that. All that sin, all of that destruction, all of that fucking terrible shit that you went through. I put my son there for that, to take all of that from you, so you don't have to deal with that anymore. And today I sit here, and if it wasn't for him and how good he really truly is, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today talking to you about this.
I probably wouldn't know you at all.
You probably wouldn't know me at all. You probably would have never met me and knowing any of this about me. And that that is why I do what I do. Because and a lot of people don't have God in their life. They've been through trauma, and they blame God.
Yeah.
They blame God for this. God, why did you do this to me? He didn't do this to you.
Yeah. Or why did you let this happen?
Why you let this happen to me?
Yeah.
Because so he let this happen to you, so you can open your eyes up and see what's right in front of you, and it's him, all the way across the board. There's no explanation about it at all. There's no way in the world anybody could sit there and say, well, it's not my fault. It's his fault. Well, it's not all his fault either, because, like we always talk about before, there's a God and there's a devil.
Yeah.
The devil's over here telling you all this stuff, telling you you're never going to amount to anything. You're going to be a horrible person all your life. You're never going to amount to anything. And he's over saying, no, you're my son. I'm gonna give you all. I'm gonna give you everything you need to deal with. So you're fighting a spiritual battle every day of your life when you wake up, and you got to decipher those thoughts. Where do I go? Do I go over here and listen to the good stuff, or do I go over here and listen to the bad stuff? Where do I go? What do I do?
Yeah.
And so that was my biggest thing whenever I was going through all of that stuff. I've got the Lord over here telling me, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna make it out of this. You're gonna be good. You're gonna be solid. I'm gonna make you that way. And I got them saying, well, no, you're gonna do everything that you did. And I did it. And I today I regret every bit of that, because of some fact I was not only hurting myself, my family, my friends that cared about me, because they never knew any of this. I never told anybody any of this, but when after a certain amount of time, I started opening up about it and telling people my story, so maybe my story can have some effect on somebody else that's going through what I went through.
Yeah.
And that's why I came here today.
Yeah.
So maybe this can help somebody, and if it can,
yeah,
feel free to reach out to me. I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
Kevin knows how to get a hold of me. Whatever, my Facebook.
Yeah.
Anything.
Not a problem.
Speak up. Let me know.
Yeah, like we said earlier, like if you're going through anything and you just need to vent or you want to talk to anybody, you can reach us on the Facebook or the IG or through the email. Email's a little slower, but I'll read it anyways. I do see it. It goes directly to me. And all those links are down below. But also, like all of these mental health things, I'm including a list of resources in the description as well. So whether that's 988 or a bunch of different websites and other services that you can call and get a hold of to reach out for help. But yeah, I think you're very right. But I think that there's the one thing I don't want to necessarily correct you on, but you said you regret those things you did. But if you didn't do those things, you wouldn't be who you are.
Exactly.
So it's weird. I mean, it's more. It's not about regret. I feel like it's more like ashamed of that you let yourself get there and do those things, but not in the same way of regret, because it's hard to regret a thing that made you become a better person.
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's one thing. Like, a lot of people, like I said, I dealt with breakups, loss of people, loss of relationships, especially with close friends and people I consider like a brother, or even a sister for that matter. My ex-best friend's ex-wife, she and I bonded after they divorced. I chose his side in the divorce first. He became a much shittier human, went into his own depression spiral and started making all kinds of self-destructive decisions and everything else like that. And then eventually it destroyed our relationship.
Okay.
We sort of mended it a little bit, but I bonded back with her because I flat out told her, I'm like, hey, now I understand what you were going through. Like the things that you were dealing with that nobody else saw. The not physical abuse, but mental and emotional abuse that you probably were going through that led you to leave my best friend, So we bonded and got close, and then just stupid shit cost that relationship. and now they're just out in the world, like somewhere. Like, and I don't have animosity towards her or anything. Like, it wasn't on my end specifically. You know, it was a fight that only happened on one side.
Right.
It was like anger and a fight that happened over there, and then nothing ever got to be resolved. And then it just disappeared and broken. And like, it's like one, so I regret that aspect, but that's not what I was getting at. But I had a point and I talked my way around it, and I'm trying to remember what I was going to do there. Oh, just some people would say when a loss of relationship, like say you went through 2 divorces. I mean, you're still doing better than your dad. You could get to 7. That would be a problem.
Yeah.
Because that is a weird chain of events. That's actually what happened with my ex-best friend. Is I think he's technically on his. Well, the second one they never got married, but they were engaged, heading towards marriage. So now he's on his 2nd divorce already, and probably onto another girlfriend because his dad also did the same thing after.
Okay.
Either way, kind of cycles of behavior. You do as you're shown, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunate, but people, I could say that like I regret ever dating this person or whatever but all of those dark times led me to be the better person than I was then.
Right. Exactly.
Because like when my ex Laura, when we broke up, she left me because like I was in my worst possible state. Like it was the worst version of me. And I figured that out way too late. I started digging into the Bible, started wanting to have a much more biblical aspect of marriage between us. We weren't married, but we were effectively married. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I wanted to be a better stepdad. I wanted to be a better quote unquote husband to her. And I started that way too late. That realization came way too late. But that started me down a path of being a better person. And I never got the tattoo, but I wanted to get a tattoo here on my forearm of the date that we broke up. Like,
Okay.
totally. And that was supposed to be a reminder to always be a better man than I was on that date. Because that day cost me everything.
Right.
And everything that led me up to that point cost me everything. But it led me to be a better person than I was. So, in the same way, while you've gone through a shitstorm of personal suffering, whether that's getting hit by a car 3 times or, your family dying every few years, you've come out a person who is willing to help strangers out in their worst time of need and then try to help spread the message of hope instead of, yeah, life sucks, get over it. Or, it's like, yeah, life sucks. Talk to me about it.
Yeah.
Not everyone's got problems. Shut up, Vicky.
Yeah.
I don't know why that was the name that came to mind, but that's just the name that was in my head. Sorry if your name is Vicky and you're going through some stuff. Because I'm sure there is a Vicky out there dealing with stuff, but I don't think she's listening to this show.
Probably not.
Probably like 6 years from now, she'll hear this episode. A random Vicky will be like, he's so mean.
You're so mean.
Then, it's like, why? Either way, but no, that's just that idea that like the we're not meant to suffer purposely or purposelessly.
Exactly.
I don't think that's the word I wanted, but it works. I was like, if we do suffer, it's at the means of the enemy, whatever that might be. But hopefully you can turn it to the goodness of God.
Exactly. And
hopefully.
Somebody, like I said, man, somebody that may be in that situation to where they don't know how to handle something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They need to understand this right here. You are not alone at all.
Yeah.
You are not alone in this. You have somebody that's looking out for you at all times. And if you can put your mind, if you can wrap your mind around that, that that will make you a different and a better person than you are right now.
Mhm.
Okay, I am a man. I still struggle every day of my life.
Mhm.
I still have the struggles. I still have the thoughts. I still have all of that inside of me.
Mhm.
Okay, but I fight those battles. I fight those battles. I let him fight those battles for me.
Mhm.
I don't have to fight those battles anymore because he has taken all of that pain, all of that suffering into his arms and his timing.
Mhm.
And his timing is always going to be on point. And I had a hard time remembering all of that whenever all that was going on.
Of course.
And today I can sit here and tell you, Kevin, that whatever you're going through, you have got to you have got to pick up the phone. You've got to say something to somebody, whether it's me or you or somebody listening or a hotline or a family member or somebody that's nearest to you.
There's
There's always somebody else out
and,
there that can talk to you and sit down with you,
yeah.
and
There's somebody who
there's
wants to
somebody
hear it.
that wants to hear it.
Yeah.
And that's where you got to put your focus on.
Yeah.
Not the
And
problem.
yeah. And I mentioned it last week, or the last episode, I should say, is that
Excuse me.
some people feel like their problems aren't big enough to warrant, quote unquote, complaining about.
Right.
But the worst thing that has ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter how big or small that might be. I mean, Charlie got hit by a car. I had a dog die. It's still the worst thing that's ever happened at some point.
Right.
You know, don't be afraid to think or to reach out to somebody because you think your problems aren't big enough for somebody to bother with. And like, I just mean people. Like, yes, if you want to take the God route, obviously no problem is too big.
No.
But when you got to get to the person side of things and you've got to interact with somebody, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a podcaster, I don't know, whatever, just throwing it out there. It's like you just want to talk, like vent and have a conversation with somebody that may or may not feel the same way as you, or at least has someone that has ears that will listen. Just voice it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, and that's where I was alone, not only feeling like I had no one to talk to. My parents were, things were going crazy with my parents. There's no talking to anybody there. Well, not at this, either way.
At the time.
Yeah, at the time. Almost no friends. Basically, like, the only people that I could talk to about what happened was like the guys I barely knew at men's group, and then my podcast co-hosts.
Right.
All of which were across the country, not here in person.
Right. Yeah.
So they were there for supporting me, and the whole reason why this show exists is because I was alone and wanted to talk to people.
Right.
I'm not saying that starting a podcast is the ultimate goal of things, but if you need people to talk to, like you feel like you don't have enough people to talk to in your life, I bet there's one or two friends that you have. Maybe you're not that close of friends. Like Jeff and I weren't really we were barely acquaintances before he came on the show, and now we're really good friends. Yeah, we've been brought into their family group.
Right.
Like everybody who was here last night, with the exception of the Winters. That's all that circle of family that we've grown with Jeff and his people.
Yeah.
And that only happened because of this show.
Right.
Like, if I didn't need co-hosts, we wouldn't be friends.
Right.
So I started this show to talk to my friends because I had no one else to talk to and hang out with.
Got you.
And then it led to me meeting more people to sit here and talk with that are now effectively family.
Right.
And I wouldn't have that if not for something as simple as sitting down and talking with morons about, nerd stuff
Right.
on the internet.
Of course.
So in theory, like things like this show helped me with my mental state and my emotional state.
Of course.
I have issues still, like you said, certain things are never really going to go away.
No, they're not.
But now I have people that I can talk to, I can express my feelings with, and strangers out there listening that may get something from that.
Exactly.
Or be able to contribute. Like maybe I'll throw out a problem that nobody else has got an insight for, and one of you guys out there in the audience hear it, and you go, "Hey, I went through that. Let me message you."
Yeah.
So the internet is a great resource. I mean, there's a lot of negativity out there, and I think a lot of it's fake.
Yeah.
And I think it's meant to help people suffer for money. That's how the internet works.
Yeah. Exactly.
Watch people suffer for money.
Right. No doubt.
Which can be hilarious, but
Bad at the same
the
time.
ultimately bad for obvious reasons. Sorry, I watched a people getting hurt video the other day, and it was incredibly funny, but also tragic at the same time. Nobody died, but there was some serious injury. But as I was saying, basically, like reaching out at all, being like, "Hey, does anybody want to literally sit and talk with me for hours or 2 hours a week just for funsies?" And then I joined men's group, which I think you were already a part of when I joined. Because it was still fledgling. It had only been going for like a month and a half when I joined. And then almost none of those dudes are even still around.
Mm-mm.
Like we have a core of like 4
Yeah.
that are kind of, we don't have the huge numbers we used to have, but we have the people who basically are a great footing to grow, hopefully more in the future, especially once we have our new location.
Yeah.
Which they did announce where we're going to be.
Oh, did they?
Yep. And it's exactly where I thought we were going to go. Not that big a deal, I guess, but, it's my old church.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're literally going back to the building that I left years ago. But it's going to be us doing it. We're just using their building.
Gotcha.
So it's not like we're joining in on the church with the people that I left on purpose.
Well, when you talk about social media in the internet, Kevin, me being into TikTok and all of that, me being a social media person.
Yeah.
And I get on there because I have so many friends and so many people, like you said, that I can talk to at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I see a lot of that negativity on there, and I'm like, I'll ask them, well, where do you get this negativity from? Why are you dealing with this negativity? And then they'll tell me, dude. They'll open up right there on the spot, and I'm like, well, we're going to turn this around. We're going to make this into a positive atmosphere, because you're going to end up like I was.
Yeah.
In that sense of you're gonna get off of this social media, and you're gonna go home and you're gonna do something stupid. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't feed into that crap. It's no good.
You know what's funny? When we first kind of touched on this, Jeff mentioned that because he works at the American Legion. And one night there was literally, they got a phone call at the bar from a girl in like Minnesota or something, and she was on like Snapchat with a kid who was there with his grandma, who was literally going through like all the shit, but he was sharing with some stranger on the internet, and she knew where he was, Googled the place, called, and then Jeff and a couple other people went over there basically like to talk to the kid. Like, that kid was like suicidal and going through shit and wasn't talking to normal people. He's literally like, so the internet basically probably
saved
that kid's life. And I said, like, that's one of those weird, good, positive stories of like how you can be completely disconnected by 5 states, and then someone can turn around and save your life where you're at.
Exactly.
And it's weird because I, even on my live streams, I've talked about like my mental health over time, and depression and loneliness and all that kind of stuff. Because the whole reason I do live streams is because I'm lonely, literally sitting in a room talking to strangers on the internet because I have no one to talk to in real life.
Right.
So, well, at the time, I should say. Now I do it still for fun, but now that we've developed the connection via Patreon, which, by the way, tonight we have a Patreon call, because it's a video call and we can literally sit and talk and connect with each other, like build relationships with people who don't live here.
Right.
Like to the point that last year, Trisha, one of my longest running viewers, invited us to her birthday in Oklahoma.
Okay.
And we went. Like, it was awkward. Don't get me wrong.
Where we went.
But felt like we knew her.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to her birthday, went on a nice vacation in Oklahoma, but also gave me a perfectly good excuse to go meet Sean, which I probably would not have done because he lives in North Texas.
Okay.
So he was literally, so we were in OKC. He was about an hour and a half away.
Okay.
So, like, I would have probably never bothered to go up there to visit him if I didn't
Go up there and do that.
Connect with Trisha.
Right.
So, like, meeting someone who's just kind of a supporter and that we hang out on the internet allowed me to basically meet my best friend in real life.
Right.
And get to make fun of him in person on the podcast, which was a lot of fun because he was drunk. He was so nervous. He was weirdly nervous. Like, we literally talk every day, and he was on the podcast. And he was like nervous to meet us in person. So he actually had like 2 beers before we got there, and he's a lightweight. So it was hilarious. That was really funny either way. But yeah, it's like this because I could have seen myself literally giving up on everything and giving into my depression and loneliness and everything. Because I was a lonely kid, but I had like my 2 best friends. And then we had Boy Scouts and everything else like that. Meeting more people, school. Like, unless you're like a weird, like, shut-in type person, there's people all around you that you probably see on a daily basis. It's like, just try to make connections.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, we get by with our connection to other people, despite what Heffy might say, because he loves to spend all his time alone. But if he didn't have his dogs, he would be in a far darker place.
So let me ask you this: that lady that was here last night, were they married? The lady that was here talking to Jordan last night, were they in a relationship at all? Or
Oh, that was Amy. That was Jeff's wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The lady, the
yes.
That was Jeff's wife, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And they're going through some stuff, but hopefully they'll actually sit down and talk about it instead of just going separate directions and not saying anything. Hopefully. Yeah. We're praying for them.
Yeah, we are. Definitely. Sure.
Because I know how he is. I don't know her as well, but I know her enough that, like, just like, okay, it somewhere, some way, this relationship needs to be built back up, and not just keep making excuses to be in different rooms.
Got you.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But it's just communication, connecting with people is how you save lives.
Exactly.
That's
exactly what it is.
Yep. And so that's just one of those things, like, because even it talked about on one of the slides that right now in modern day, basically 1 in 5 men have 0 friends.
Exactly.
0.
None.
That's an absurd number.
It is.
And it's like, find something. Like, how many dudes came to men's group basically not knowing what it was, but they just wanted to go meet with some guys in the area because they had no friends?
A lot of them.
Almost all.
Almost all of them.
Yeah, if your name wasn't James or Andre, you were there because
you were there for a reason.
You're a lonely dude.
You were a lonely dude who had nothing else to do.
Yeah, nothing better to do. Maybe stress of life. Everybody's just getting out of COVID.
Yep.
You almost don't care about the church aspect. You just want to connect with some dudes that are just being doodly.
And it's funny because I actually found that through Olive Conroe.
Same.
On the Facebook page.
Yep.
They were meeting at the other
coffee shop. Yep.
Coffee shop. No, not the one in Conroe.
No, the other coffee shop.
The one before that.
Yeah.
And then whenever they were meeting at what's his name's place.
Yep.
I found them over there, and I was at that one Monday night, and I was hooked.
Yep.
I'm like, this is the place. This is what Conroe needs for men to come to sit down and be open and conversate and God forbid, man, like when we went to Marshall's the other night, me, you, and Jordan.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that we need to spend every day.
And even though like you don't actually attend our church, every now and then you do.
Every now and then I do.
You haven't been able to come to an actual men's group thing, but we keep up with each other.
Exactly.
And then part of the thing was fight for relationships.
Exactly.
And like Jordan was here last night, and he was fighting off being emotional because right now, like between family and a lot of friends, or I guess people in his life, I should say, he didn't feel like anybody would have thrown him
A party
a birthday party.
Right.
And so he was like extremely thankful.
Mm-hmm.
Not this morning, but last night.
Last night. He was suffering. He probably was feeling too good this morning when he got
Look, he was not. I checked on him. But I was like, dude, like you're like our little brother, like of the group. Like, I mean, he's in his 20s, 26, just turned it. And it's like the rest of us are in our 40s.
Yep.
And it's just like, dude, it's like we're all in the same boat here. Like, and you've been a part of our stuff since we started coming to watch you be Elvis, or you joining the podcast for trying to market yourself as Elvis, or drinking way too much with us. We got to work on that. Chelsea was not quite happy about that.
Yeah, probably not.
But I did say, it's like, look, I understand your pain. I have to go upstairs and deal with mine. Jessica was so drunk.
Oh, God, I bet she was hilarious.
Yeah, she was drunk. Yeah. It's okay. She just put on her CPAP and went to sleep, basically. But, yeah, she was drunk last night. But basically, it's like, I did that last night because I needed somebody to do that for me 3 years ago.
Right, exactly.
When I tell you that I don't celebrate my birthday because nobody cares, that's because that's off example.
Right.
I threw a birthday party for myself in our first apartment. 2 people showed up. It was me, Jessica, and 2 friends. Out of 40 people I invited, 2 people showed up. So I surrounded myself by people who wanted me to be in their life.
Right.
To the point that when somebody else needs people to be in their life, I can bring them into that. Because I didn't have that.
Right.
And now I want to make sure that other people experience that to the degree that they might do it for the next person in that line. For their mental and emotional health.
We always talk about this, Kevin, and
point that microphone near your face.
I don't really like into mics, but we talk about this all the time. We have to surround ourselves with people to be that shoulder that we need to lean on or cry on or whatever the case may have been. And if we don't do that, we're gonna be right back where we started from back in those times.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't have a lot of friends growing up either. I had maybe this many friends.
That's 5 for anybody who couldn't.
That was 5, and that's all I had.
Yeah.
And now I have 2,000.
Well,
give or take.
You have a whole lot of acquaintances.
I've got a whole lot of acquaintances. Yeah. Workers, school friends.
Mm-hmm.
I keep contact with every single person I graduated with.
Yeah.
Because they're all on my Facebook, and I've got 1,000-something friends on my Facebook right now.
I pared down a lot of the people I went to school with.
Well, I did.
Some of them are annoying.
Well, a lot of mine.
You had a better graduating class.
Yes.
I'll say that.
I'll say that.
Yeah.
But I think about that all the time. Like, well, where would I have been had I stay in isolation and not out there, telling people what I'm going through and doing these things and interacting with who. What would I have done? How would I deal with that?
Somebody would have been spreading your ashes.
They might have to one of these days. You never know.
Well, somebody will somewhere.
Somebody will somewhere, yeah. But
The robots. The robots will spray.
The robots will do it for me.
Yes.
But
Hopefully not a Roomba.
Yeah,
That's awkward.
Yeah, that'd be awkward.
It's like whoops.
Whoops, sorry.
Yeah.
But
spilled your ashes, Charlie.
But it's stuff like this that makes somebody else's day better than ours. You understand where I'm getting at? Because we may suffer every day. We may have these issues, but we have overcome our issues as people. Okay.
Well,
I have.
Yeah, speak for yourself. Take that as my statement. Yeah.
You may have not, but you're
still,
getting there.
I'm still dealing with a lot.
You're getting there though.
Yeah.
I can see it. I can see it in my eyes. You're getting there. You're doing better than 90% of the people I'm meeting your age.
Oh sure, yeah. I agree with that. I'm dealing better. I was like, I'm doing a lot better than a lot of people, but I'm not great.
You
Perspective.
You won't be perfect. I'm not perfect either.
Oh,
by any means.
So good.
I'm not perfect at all. But I'm working on myself.
That's what you should. Yeah.
I'm working on myself so that way I can be a better person to somebody else.
Yeah.
That needs to hear what I have to say.
Much like I said with my tattoo earlier, be a better person than you were on that day.
Be a better man.
Yep.
And I'm going through a study. I'm going through a study right now on Thursday nights. A friend of mine just started in the Woodlands, and it's about being a better man. Yeah. And we're gonna go through a 6-week study about it.
Yeah, we're supposed to be doing one right now too, and I'm really behind on my homework. and I told Andre this is all side note, guys. We're gonna wrap up here in a minute, but Andre wanted to start a new limited study for the summer, and it was basically just gonna be me, him, and Jordan going through it. Jordan hadn't been able to join in yet, so we're still literally on step 1. But there was like five big chapters to go through in the Bible, and I told him when he handed me the kind of pamphlet thing for the whole thing, and I'm just like, oh god, brain just went into I hate school mode. Like I told him flat out, we're reading through it. It's one thing when you've been to some of the men's group when I was leading.
Yep.
It's one thing for me to have the sheet and guide people through the thing we're supposed to do, ask the questions, read the story, all that kind of stuff. That is not a problem for me. Because I feel like I'm learning at the same time that I'm teaching to a degree.
Yeah.
This was all oh, this is straight up schoolwork and homework level, and my brain is rejecting it. Because while I was good at school, or at least I was good at learning, for lack of a better term, by the time I got to college and the way they were teaching stuff, my brain was just shutting off. It's I learned by doing, and I learned by being shown the thing to do.
Right.
When you give me a whole bunch of words on a page and say, go read this and report back, my brain goes,
pretty much, yeah.
And it gets shoved to the wayside.
Yeah.
Almost physically. Literally, my Bible was sitting out there with the thing in it for 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
And I haven't done it yet because we were supposed to meet Monday night and we didn't because Andre was sick.
Gotcha.
So now my Bible is over there on my corner table on top of my comic books, which I also haven't read for the last 6 months. So it's there's levels of personal growth, especially when it comes to church, that I need to absolutely work on. And it's a mental block that I guess I didn't know I had until I encountered it.
Right.
When I say it was hard to read the words on the page, it's because my brain just went, no, we're not doing the school thing anymore. And just started shutting down. So I was like, okay. And I'm literally with Andre and I'm telling him, this is going to be a struggle for me. Because 1, if I'm not kept on task, I will not do it. 2, the closer that this feels like homework, the less likely I'm going to do it in any meaningful amount of time, if not the night before we have to even talk about it. Because that's basically how I dealt with everything.
Right.
It's I was the too smart for my own good type.
Yeah, I got you.
And so I'd be well, I technically already know this. I'm just going to do the homework right before it's due, not to do the homework and then sit back.
Yeah.
It's but if I was interested in it, maybe. But if it's something I wasn't interested in, I would do the least amount of work to get it done as fast as possible at the last second.
Right, I got you.
And that's where I'm at right now with that.
Got you.
And whether that's a habit or just the way that I'm developmentally limited, I don't know. It's just I don't learn that way, and it's a struggle, especially considering it's supposed to be something like the Bible and God that I need to deal with.
Yeah.
And that's just like one of the, that's a current struggle. And the other thing is I also don't want to let Andre down, like as a leader.
Yeah.
So it's also like, okay, I don't know.
What do I do in this situation?
Yeah, it's like,
Where am I
okay,
going to go now?
so I'm supposed to do the thing. And then he added to it, by the way. He's like, also, you need to read it, but then also get Jessica involved and go over it with her. I was like, it's like it's just starting to be like oppositional defiance. It's like, no. It's like, no. But either way, yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there at the end here. But guys, once again, whatever it is you're going through, it's probably the worst thing you've ever been through, and it doesn't matter that it's not the worst thing that other people have been through. Find someone you can talk it out with. If you need to reach out, there's in the description there will be links and everything else like that for websites, other types of services. Some of them are just literally like text messages back and forth. Some of them are straight up phone calls, like 988. You know, that's the suicide hotline and stuff like that. Even if it's not suicidal, sometimes they can at least connect you to other people.
Exactly.
There's one in there. I looked into it while I was typing it all up, and it was man therapy.
Okay.
That's just what it's called, man therapy. It's actually dealing with trauma through humor.
Gotcha.
I was like, ooh, comedy trauma. I am good with that one. I was like, I should look into that one. It's like, because that's how I deal with a lot of things, by trying to laugh at them or make jokes around them. But so guys, all those resources will be in the description down below. So by all means, go check it out. I should probably put it in like a pinned comment. People like that for some reason. I don't know why.
Sure.
They almost never open up the description, but they'll look at a comment. So might need to work on that. But Charlie, thanks for coming and hanging out with me today.
You bet, man. No problem. Anytime.
Yeah. And I will say it's significantly easier to hear you through headphones than in a very loud, crowded bar while playing pool.
Right, no doubt.
I feel like I've literally missed out on most of our conversation because we're always in loud places, and I'm just like, yep.
I agree with you.
Yeah, it's like because I'm half deaf, so it's really, really hard to converse that way. So more in person on camera situations. I'm just kidding.
Man.
Or just always have a microphone and headphones around, so so I can hear you better.
Yeah.
But thanks for doing this, because
no problem.
It will help somebody.
And that's my goal.
Yeah.
For all you out there, if you need to reach out to me, get a hold of Kevin and
where can they reach you? Like on like
they can call me on my cell phone. You have my number.
I'm not gonna give out your direct number. I meant like socials. Like
well, you can reach out to me. I have Instagram.
Okay.
I have
what's
Facebook.
your Instagram?
It's Charles_Todd_British621.
Okay, I'll have to get that from you. Put it on the screen.
Yeah, you can reach me there.
Okay, and then TikTok.
My TikTok is the same thing.
Okay, well that helps.
I'll message you.
Send me the links and I will link those.
I'll send you my link on our Facebook and you can put that on there as well.
Indeed,
they can reach out to me those two places.
Yep.
And I'll be glad to talk to you.
Also, if you just want to watch his fun TikTok stuff.
Yeah.
Just to make you feel better, or have a better day, or whatever.
Just to make your day better.
Yeah.
Feel free.
Yes. But also do the like and subscribe thing here on the channel. And of course, if you're following on any other platforms, like audio platforms, do that, please. I know, shameless plugs here. Also, I always forget to mention it. We do have a merch store, so you can go and check out the merch down below. We have the 0 days since last awkward incident merch is available. So if you want to go buy t-shirts, mugs, whatever, I need to get a mug for that one because it looks funny. And then I am working on getting a new merch dealer for posters, because I want to keep making movie posters out of our thumbnails. So I've got a couple of those lined up. I just need a proper website that will actually do it, because Teespring hates me and I'm fighting to get my money back. It shouldn't be that big of a deal to get my money back on a thing they canceled on me. Surprisingly difficult. Thanks, Teespring. That's why this other website's reaching out to me to change over to them. Fun times. But, well, you've been on the show once before, so you know how it ends?
Yep.
Okay. So, guys, we'll see you next time. And with that, bye.
Bye.
Close enough.